Hello, welcome back to Tom's third channel. See, run too many channels. The names escape me very quickly. Welcome back to the third side, the weird side. Yes, my words are even weirder than the title itself. And we're back doing another glorious interview. Ooh. Imagine a ghost, not the crowd oohing. And today we're back with a very special interview. If you want to hear my 60th project from Doctor Who, it's over on the main channel. But we're here to do something amazing. I'm here with a very special guest. He's best known for the band that everyone loves and adores, the Cuban Boys. It's the one and only Ricardo.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello, little people in the computer.
And so we'll start at the very beginning because
It's a
Julianne,
long
who's
time
on
ago.
there, it was a very good place to start. How did you get into producing and making music?
Well, when we were kids, myself and my sister had little toy keyboards, as people do as children. And one Christmas, we got a thing called a Porter Studio, which is like a miniature recording studio that used cassettes.
Yeah.
So you could record drums and bass and vocals and all that on a single cassette. And we started doing little experiments with that, writing pop songs and all sorts of crackpot malarkey. And we also started sampling things, other people's music, that we then turned into our own songs. Now, this is long before Spotify or YouTube. So the only things you could actually sample were things you physically owned yourself. So we raided our dad's record collection, our mum's record collection, and we found a mad array of things to steal, one of which was a big band record by an artist called Frank Chaxfield, who did easy listening orchestral arrangements of things. He had a song called Cuban Boy, and we stole a portion of that. And out of all the things we'd done at that point, this is back in the mid 90s, I think. Of all the things we'd done, our great songs, our great compositions, our great experiments, it was this silly little novelty thing that captured the imagination of the public and kickstarted a glorious and yet terrible career.
And how did you get commissioned or brought on to make the theme tune to one of Scotland's greatest sitcoms, Still Game?
There was no interesting story behind this, funnily enough. We'd done the track, we'd sent it to John Peel. John Peel had played it. It then came out as a little 7-inch single on a tiny indie label, so it didn't get in the charts or anything. It didn't sell any copies. But somehow, somebody in Scotland had heard it, and we got a message saying, "Can we use it for this comedy program?" And it's so vague. It was so vague. I seem to remember thinking it was like for a radio show or something like that. That was the the concept. So it was like a year later when it suddenly turned up on the telly that we were very excited and delighted to find out that our version, our exact version, was premiering on TV. It was a version that had been recorded very badly as well. So all these things people tell you about audio fidelity, that things should be mixed beautifully and mastered beautifully, and everything has to be perfect for everybody to hear it. It doesn't matter. You can do a track in an hour on a cassette in 1998, and it will be broadcast on television throughout the noughties, regardless of the fact that it was recorded like on a shoestring. Don't record on a shoestring, people. The bootleg clogs the heads.
And do you own the rights to the music? Because when they put it onto Netflix, they couldn't use the song itself.
No, I don't know why that was. There's these comments that they couldn't get clearance, and nobody ever asked us about it. So I'm assuming whoever controlled the publishing copyright for the original composition didn't allow it. Certainly, we would have allowed the physical recording rights if anybody had asked us. But I assume that whoever owns the Chaxfield composition estate didn't want to license it for the DVDs.
Yeah. And not only have you created and honed one of the greatest sitcoms, Still Game, with the music that everyone remembers, and you can hear orchestras play for no apparent reason, just randomly, because they know how to play it simply. But how did you come about forming the second greatest band of all time, the Pound Shop Boys?
Pound Shop Boys. My great friend and previous interviewee, I believe, Mr. Phil Fletcher, the nation's greatest puppeteer. Let's all salute him. Um, one day he mentioned that as a kid, we're great friends, me and Phil, and he'd mentioned one day that when he was a kid, he had a Fireman Sam cassette. Fireman Sam, the Welsh animated exploit to be bumbling fireman in a tiny village that always seems to be getting set on fire for no reason. Um, he said he had this cassette of Fireman Sam as a kid, and he always imagined what the theme tune would sound like as a proper pop song, by, for example, the Pet Shop Boys. So I said, well, why don't we do it? Well, I've got this little studio here. We can just knock it up. So I came with the backing track. He came around and sang it. We had a good laugh, and we mixed it and played it to people. That was an in joke, really. And then we forgot about it for about 3 years. And I was around his house once, and we were sort of talking about it. Remember that silly Fireman Sam song we did? So we stood against his sitting room wall for 10 minutes. He filmed me. I filmed him. I went home. I made a video and put it on YouTube. And it suddenly became a massive sensation all of a sudden out of nowhere. So we decided that the Pound Shop Boys had to be a real thing. So we at that moment, we bought a green screen and a top hat, and we filmed the Pound Shop Boys. That's all you need if you want to be in the Pound Shop Boys, ladies and gentlemen. A green screen and a top hat.
And will you ever take the Power Shop Boys on tour?
Oh, we'd love to. We did a couple of gigs. We did the Keith Harris tribute in Blackpool in 2018 or 19. And we did a couple of Comic Cons. Whenever Hacker got invited to a Comic Con, we'd sort of slipstream that, say, oh, do you want to book the Pound Shop Boys as well? And so we planned to take it as a live show. I think it'd be great for like a student crowd and things like that. We're not the most proactive pair in the world. We kind of wait for things to fall into our lap before we do them. So we haven't really managed to look at the proactivity to get the Pound Shop Boys back on the road again. But it will happen next year. I promise you that. There will be gigs next year.
Yeah. Well, I think if you had made some theme, if you'd done some theme tunes that were on when Phil first started on Series C, and then sent it to university, that would go like a house on fire.
I think that's right. We were trying to think of modern TV. If you can think of any modern TV themes we should do, please let us know, because we can't really think of any. But that's the beauty of the idea, that you can always change your set depending on the age of the crowd. You can go back to when they were kids and plunder TV themes from when they were youths. It doesn't have to be in the style of the Pet Shop Boys either. You can just sort of dance them up a bit, make them a bit techno or rock or anything, and it's still a great audience pleaser, I think. Whatever your age, whatever the generation you're from. So if you've got any ideas for kids' TV themes from 10 years ago, please let us know.
I would say one I can think of straight away is Noddy.
Okay. What the classic?
Well, there's actually I did this the other day. I don't ask me why.
Okay. Why? Why did you do it?
Because I on my Stream Deck, which is this machine here, I have a collection of theme tunes in a playlist that I just press play. It's 2 hours at the moment.
Beautiful.
And so the Noddy's one from the 70s. There's the one that everyone remembers, not the others that no one ever. That would work.
I think you're right. I'm trying to imagine it. It's got that skippy beat about it, hasn't it? That
Noddy, about with the car. Yeah.
Big orchestral hit, one for a big explosion, bring the choirs in. Bob's your uncle. There you go. Number one hit, ladies and gentlemen. Number one hit. Smash.
And is the band also fueled from your and Phil's both love of TV?
Oh yes. I mean, if there's one thing we absolutely adore, it's television. If there's two things we absolutely adore, it's television and the Pet Shop Boys. The both of us, it's our shared obsession. So you find something you love, and you create art out of what you love, and it turns out wonderfully always. But yeah, we do love we love TV, terrible old horror films, Pet Shop Boys, puppets. What else do we love? Pot noodles.
And why do you reckon that theme tunes, that the art form that sadly is like dying very in a rapid rate, why do you reckon they're so important?
it's sad, isn't it? It's such a frustrating thing that the idea of I suppose you need a theme tune anymore. People just want to get into the action. People are either watching things on streaming and they will skip the intro anyway, or they're downloading stuff illegally, or watch it on YouTube, or they're not watching telly at all. So when there's no need for a theme tune, people don't commission theme tunes, and it's a great shame that. So it brought the nation together, didn't it? It was something. It was like a hit single. A hit single that back in the 80s, a big hit would you would all know about. All your friends would know the song. And it's the same with the theme tune. Even if it wasn't a hit, it would be, you'd all know the themes of the various TV shows, and it was something that brought you all together. And that's just it's a dead art. It's a shame. And I'd love to bring back the TV. When Hacker gets his own TV show, there will be an amazing theme tune for that, and I will write it, and it will be the greatest theme tune you've ever heard in your life. There's no messing about with that. I tell you that for tenpence.
I reckon they should do what Dick and Dom did with bringing the bungalow, but 18 it up to the correct audience. The audience who watched him at the beginning, they should do like a BBC Three sitcom because he's on Hacker Time. It's on Scoop, which for children now he needs to do like a hardcore where Hacker gets a girlfriend.
Hacker up late with Hacker. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Dick and Dom, of course, was brilliant because Dick and Dom, even then, Dick and Dom appealed to everybody across the ages. So the Dick and Dom live show nowadays is fun for everybody 18 and over, really, isn't it? Up until pensionable age. Yeah. The geniuses, the pair of them.
Basil Brush did a show for 18 or over. You had to be 18 to get in to watch Basil Brush.
I can't imagine Basil being a bit blue with material. He's far too reserved for that.
I don't think he was. It's like what the Wiggles do. The Wiggles, when they went back on tour, the originals, he
yeah,
the exact same actor they did years ago. It's just the audience, the age.
I like the idea of that. I always feel slightly uncomfortable by the idea of Zippy and George effing and blinding on a live stage of students. But I like the idea of that. That does sound good.
Well, there's a YouTube video called Zippy and George Do Top Gear.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes,
yeah,
glorious.
Yeah, that is very rude. And one thing that you've done in your career that is amazing that people, BBC Four can't get enough of the program that you appeared on. What was it like appearing on Top of the Pops?
Well, it was very exciting. We had terrible colds at the time. But there's a couple of things I've done in my career, one of which is Eurovision, one of which is Top of the Pops. And it's the sort of thing you can say to anybody and say, I did that, and they're sort of impressed. If you say you've had a hit single these days, or say you did the theme tune to whatever, people go, all right, fine, that's good. But you say Top of the Pops, and people go, you're on Top of the Pops. Except we weren't on Top of the Pops. We filmed our Top of the Pops, and it came out, it was at Christmas. And our single, which is this one here, it came out Christmas week, and the Christmas week Top of the Pops is always a review of the year. So if you don't get to number one in that week, they don't show you on the show. And by the time Top of the Pops had gone back to being normally scheduled, i.e., back a couple of weeks later in the new year, we'd waltz off down the charts again. We were down at number 28 or something by that time. So our performance never got shown. It is on YouTube. I remember the record label complained to the BBC that we'd not been shown. They sent us complimentary videos of the performance to thank us. So that's how it's ended up on YouTube. But no, the performance was not sadly broadcast on TV. It was broadcast on digital TV, though, interesting enough. But BBC, this is very interesting as well. The BBC have lost our performance because I used to keep getting asked to go on Nevermind the Buzzcocks to appear in the Identity Parade, and they had nothing really to show as a clip because they couldn't find our performance in the archive. I will still go on. If the Sky version of Buzzcocks is watching this, I'd love to go on the Identity Parade, and you can rip the version that's on YouTube to use as a demonstration clip.
Or they'll fly you to Australia to do Spicks and Specks, which is technically the Australian version of Nevermind the Buzzcocks, but better.
At a push, I would do that. I would do that. I do love Spicks and Specks, and Australian comedy generally. I'm a big fan of. So if somebody wants to fly me down there and get me on something with Sean McAuliffe, I'm always available.
And if Adam Hills lives in the UK half the time, so he will know of you.
Yes, exactly. And Alex lives in Huddersfield, doesn't he? Which isn't a million miles away from here. And I keep wondering if I bump into him in in a local pub, I could say to Alex Brooker, pass on my information to Adam, please, and fly me up to Australia. It could happen. It could happen. It's not just wishful thinking. It's very likely.
And you mentioned there that you had done Eurovision.
Mm.
Well, you had helped do Eurovision because you didn't actually perform. You were the genius behind it.
Yes, genius. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, there's the disc for the Eurovision. That one there.
And what was it like being approached and working on one of the UK's greatest musical exports? The fiction.
Oh, genuinely very excited. You always think when you make pop records, a lot of the time you don't. It's not that you don't enjoy it, but you don't realize you're enjoying it until it's too late. And you think back and think, "Oh, wasn't that great? I wish I'd enjoyed that more." But Eurovision, it was one of those things right from the off. You were going, "Wow, I can't believe it. We're doing Eurovision." From the moment they sort of phoned up back in January, Daz, the performer of the Eurovision song, and had a hit under the name Uniting Nations, and the Eurovision people wanted Uniting Nations to appear, but they were too cool. They didn't want to do that. But Daz did, and he said, "Oh, I've got this record I've done with a mate of mine." So they put that in, and it was from the off. It was just really thrilling. The knowledge you were going to be on first the selection program, so we are going to get a bit of Saturday night telly out of it, and then being at the selection program and meeting Wogan and Jonathan Ross was there as well, and Kelly Osbourne, all the stars, and then watching the scores come in. And it was building excitement that led to us in a 5-star hotel in Greece at the license payer's expense in May, which was a lovely holiday as well.
And why do you reckon that you chose to do that type of song with having the extra backing singers?
Yeah, we did the demo. We did the demo with a band called Blazing Squad, funnily enough, the year before, and the kids' choir was basically me, Daz, my sister, a bunch of people singing through a pitch shifter. So we sounded all squeaky like kids. But obviously, when you go to Eurovision, you've got to have live people on stage. You can't have backing tapes of singers. So they brought in the girls to sing. The idea was I would have been like back on being a DJ at the back or something like that. So I was going to be on stage, but then they realised they needed a professional singer just to keep everybody in tune. So they got a girl in the back to do the DJ business instead of me. Um, and she was a really good professional singer. She's actually she represented Eurovision in the past. She's certainly been a contender, and she's really, really good. So yeah, so I think also they had the over 18 as well, so we couldn't get actual kids. I thought it'd been better if we had actual urchins, actual soot faced, scruffy, Dickensian urchins singing the chorus on that. It would have looked really cool, but no, sadly, everything was sort of affected by the boundaries that were set by the rules, really, more than anything.
And do you reckon that because it's been a few years, do you reckon that you'll come back to the world of Eurovision and help compose the next hit for Junior Eurovision?
I'd love to. I genuinely would. Me and Daz tried to go back the following year. We thought it'd be a really funny gimmick if Daz tried to reclaim his crown in 2007, but they didn't have didn't want any of it. And I've written a few songs that have been submitted over the years. I've had a few in the semi-finals, but not for Britain, for various European countries, because the UK entry seems to be very closed shop these days. It seems to be it's in house at BMG or whoever, and top management companies are whittling down thousands of songs by all these songwriters that they own all the rights to and things like that. You can't really submit a song off the back of your previous glorious success like I could. It doesn't seem to be happening anymore. But again, I'd jump at the chance. I'd love it. It was a great experience and fun to do. And like I say, it's something people remember you for as well. You go, "Oh, I did Eurovision." People are really impressed when you tell them.
And how did it come about that you ended up appearing on the Eurovision adjacent documentary about the song?
Oh, I was done in this. My clip was in this very room over there because it was a different arrangement in the room back then. But Steve Price is a guy who made all the videos that me and Daz did. We did all sorts of crazy things around the world, making pop videos under assorted names. And the one connecting thing, apart from it being me and Daz, was the fact that Steve Price would direct all the videos. So when we did Eurovision, it was sort of guaranteed bolted on. He'd come with us with a crew and sort of film the whole thing. So the run up to Eurovision was shown on BBC Three the night before Eurovision. I think that the documentary had made, and he came with us then to Greece and filmed that, which has never really been. I don't think it ever got finished. The sort of the post Eurovision documentary version. But he went on to be. He does Queen's live video now, so he's quite a big deal in the world of rock.
And
I
how
keep asking, I keep asking him to send me ask Brian May to do a little guitar solo. But he's not no scratch Brian May's nose, is it? To play the guitar for 10 seconds and then send it to me on his phone, and I can sample it and then do a Ricardo Autobahn featuring Brian May record.
well,
It'd be
Brian?
nice, that wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, Brian May did appear on a CBeebies program where he played the
Did
guitar for Andy and the band.
he really? I didn't know that.
Well, it's every time you look at Brian May now, you just see him playing the guitar whilst he's calling, and whilst he's next to a drummer.
Right. um,
And how long did it take for you to write your genius music?
Oh, it's very quick. It's very quick. You know, once you shouldn't. I shouldn't really say this, but music's very easy to write. Once you know the basic building blocks of music, you can just knock them out very quickly. It's finishing. It's finishing that takes the trouble. You know, you can write a song in 10 seconds, then it can take 10 years to get around to finishing it. You know, because that is quite a boring procedure after that.
And why do you reckon that sampling is like so vital to make music even better than it already is?
It's an unusual thing. Back in the 80s, sampling was this. It was almost like punk rock. You know, it was stealing things from the past and turning them around. And then in the 90s, it became a fun quirk to do. You know, to take an odd record that you weren't expecting and make a dance record out of it. But nowadays, you know, everybody's so desperate to get that share of the market, and streaming is so massive, and margins so small that sampling is because you need a familiar hook, like or instant. If you're hearing a new song on the radio and it has a sample in it, you're immediately going, "Oh, I know that," and you're listening to it, and you've been hooked in already. Like the thing that took Eiffel 65 recently, Blue Dabba Dee by Eiffel 65 was sampled by somebody and turned into a new record. You immediately get into it. Whereas a brand new song you've never heard before with completely original elements, it may take two or three listens before you care about it. And in this day and age where everything is so tightly processed and manufactured, you know, you can't wait around for two or three listens for people to get involved in your music. You need it right there and then. So people are sampling things simply to catch people's ears more than anything, and get those lovely, lovely streams up.
And another thing that you've done that's taken the world by storm is how did you come about forming Spray?
Well, Spray technically never got formed because it's me and my sister. So we've always been sort of doing songs and stuff together. Like I say, you know, we got this little porter studio in the 90s and started writing songs and things. And we always wanted to do that. And the Cuban Boys came along, and we sort of accidentally became the Cuban Boys rather than Spray, much to our chagrin. So we've always tried to piggyback Spray on the back of anything we do. Our first album was out in 2002, I think, on just after the Cuban Boys had sort of finished. So Spray has been bumbling along for a long time without really any great success whatsoever. But the beauty of Spray being brother and sister, we never really formed in the first place. But also, we'll never really split up either. The band will never technically split up, so we'll just keep making Spray songs until the day we drop down dead.
And is the music industry becoming harder to get more music played on like really well known radio stations and not just like the local stations?
I think it's probably about the same. There was this idea that, you know, when streaming came in, it would democratize everything. So everybody on a level playing field, all the major labels and people making records at home. If they're on Spotify, it would be a level playing field. But that doesn't seem to have worked. And the disparity between the majors and the homebrew stuff seems to be greater than ever. In the old days, you know, you could send a CD to John Peel on Radio 1 and he'd probably play it. And it's sort of the same with Six Music and introducing now. You can get your stuff to people. But as regards mainstream success, it's very tricky to find an audience without, unless you've got millions of TikTok views, I suppose.
And do you reckon that uploading the music videos you make onto YouTube is another platform that helps you spread the word of
Mm.
Spain? Pardon the pun.
But yeah, I mean that's it. The Pound Shop Boys wouldn't really have taken off without YouTube, and it's a very underrated platform that people forget about. But yeah, if you can get something away on YouTube, then you can you can make money as well, of course, off the adverts and whatnot, which was never something that was available to people back in the 90s or noughties or whatever. This ability to monetize your stream, your success instantly. Uh, so what was I saying? Videos are good. Yeah.
And do you, why do you, so why do you think that Bandcamp is another important platform for music, not just you, but music in general?
Yeah, Bandcamp is great because it's instant. The idea of Spotify, there's still gatekeepers to Spotify. To get your music on Spotify, you've got to go through a third party. They have to check everything's all right. Check you've not ripped anybody off. But Bandcamp was this like just it is complete free for you. You can upload stuff and instantly it's there and instantly people can get it. No matter what you've done, you can illegally sample things and release them to people, and then Bob's your uncle. You're aware. Um, and the accounting procedure is so straightforward as well. People download some, you get paid. It's a simple situation that everything should be that simple, and it never is. People make things more complicated than they need to be, but Bandcamp realised things could be simple.
And do you have any big plans for doing like nationwide or worldwide tours with your music?
That is the ultimate goal. Obviously, the Pound Shop Boys is probably the best bet of a nationwide tour. Watch this, not this space. Watch a space for details for that. But I've got this idea that we do an all night, one day sort of gig where all my different projects do an appearance. So we start with Spray, we then go on to the Pound Shop Boys, then we do a Cuban Boys set or something, and it's a whole day of silly nonsense with like Hacker being the compare between the acts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is a plan for next year as well. That's in its early stages of formation, but it could be quite fun. That
And Derek McGee could just wander in and just start wittering about owls.
Derek McGee is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I've ever witnessed in my life. Watching Phil do Derek McGee. Derek McGee will be sat there on a chair. Phil will pick him up, and I will be on the floor crying with laughter within about 10 seconds. I think Derek McGee he's no Will Fredman, but just to look at Derek, you start laughing, and that's always a good sign, I think.
Yeah. And do you reckon that when you come to do your tour and become even more successful than you already are, do you reckon you'll ever get to appear on the show that allows pretty much anyone on Sunday brunch?
God, I love that. I love Sunday brunch. I'm often watching it thinking, what would I say in those situations? It's such a brilliant format and so lazy. It just exists. It just fills. It's like expanding foam. It fills Sunday morning. It's brilliant. I love it, and I would love to go on.
It'd be really funny if you appeared with Hacker and then just every so often, just whilst they're doing all their alcohol segment, because Hacker's like innocent, just like all of those other characters, and just try and like gate crash the whole all of the bit where they're like, oh yeah, and this is a really nice tipple, and then it's like whoever Phil can get his hand on next just runs in and tries to tip everything over.
It would be magnificent, wouldn't it? Oh, this is the thing. Yeah, this is the sort of thing Aka has to go on now. Now that he's now that we've developed this grown up hacker live idea, that's the sort of thing he has to go on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so, what is your ambitions for your next greatest hit?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I think yeah, you stop thinking about having hits. I don't care about the charts anymore. But the idea of the Pound Shop Boys being a successful variety act is probably the next rung on the ladder. Really, I want to get the Cuban Boys out on tour again. The Cuban Boys are playing a few gigs, and I think that would be a good thing because it's such a simple thing to do. You get a projector, you get some screens, you get some video, you get some synthesizers, and you've got a show on your hands. So that's something for next year. Also, the people who remember the Cuban Boys from the first time round are now middle aged and have a lot of disposable income. So there's a lot of merch to be sold, I think, for the Cuban Boys. But yeah, the Pound Shop Boys, I think, could be a real success in the future if me and Phil can get around to actually doing it rather than just sitting around lazily drinking Blue Wicked in his garden pub.
Yeah, because I think that with the Pound Shop Boys, because I know this from a fact, right? That
Yeah,
theme tune compilations where it's like alternate arrangements of theme tunes are really successful. To the bloke that does a cappella, he records all the voices himself.
yeah,
He's done like set 8 volumes of different American theme tunes, and then
right.
done his own a cappella style, and that's on Apple Music and on Spotify, and really successful. So I think that if you just like push the Power Shop Point even further than you already have done, then it'll be even more popular than it already is.
That's all we need to do. We kind of think, oh, we did the Banana Split song and he got 2 million views on YouTube. Well, that's it. We can sit back and wait for people to phone us up and offer us gigs now, and we kind of keep forgetting that that's not how it works. So 2024 will be a more proactive Pound Shop Boys year. We've got an idea for a Halloween song, so we've got something to aim for by building the brand, as it were, throughout the year to peak at Halloween with our glorious secret project.
And the Pound Shop Boys doing the Banana Split theme tune was really good, and then it went tailed off slightly with Phil then decided to promote the horror film that I don't think anyone's actually ever seen. The
I've
Banana.
seen it. Have you seen it?
No, actually I've seen the trailer and I just thought that looks awful.
It's my review of the Banana Splits movie, and Phil loves it. My review is that it's a lot better than you think it's going to be. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It's a Five Nights at Freddy knockoff kind of thing, but it's pretty good. I'd recommend watching it. I don't think you'd be disappointed.
Sci-Fi Channel did a review of it.
Mm.
So that's saying something if the Sci-Fi Channel and getting involved. But is it better or is it worse than the Winnie the Pooh horror film?
Oh, it was miles better than that. The Winnie the Pooh was one of those films. I can't even think of how to review Winnie the Pooh because you're just sitting there aghast watching it at the time. It was clearly the people who made it are very skilled, um, but it was lacking in certain areas, i.e., the entire plot. But the Banana Splits is a lot. It's really well made. It's really well performed. It's really well shot and directed. It's excellent.
Well, that's definitely going on the list of films to definitely watch now that I know that it's actually worth it, not a cheap knockoff.
It's endorsed. It's endorsed thoroughly by both Pound Shop Boys. If that means anything to the viewers,
And so, with your career being varied and not at an end, whenever
we
I
don't
say
know that. We don't know that.
we know it's not at an end. Have you got any ambitions of any like TV program that you want to appear on that things will fit your remit of? Here's some silly nonsense.
Well, I've thought of two things. Then I've always wanted a BBC Four documentary because I think, despite the fact nobody's ever heard of me, I think there's an interesting story to be told about my crackpot career. But there's it. Me and Phil have invented these characters called the Gonks. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Phil the Gonks, and we've got this idea that we should make like little 5 minute programs like they used to have. This back in the 1970s and 1980s, before the news was on, there would be 5 minutes of some old crappy British cartoon, and we like the idea of turning the Gonks into something like that. Little 5 minute adventures of these weird creatures. Um, so yes, television wise, I think it's going to be behind the scenes. At my increasing decrepit age, I'm going to be behind the scenes. But the Gonks is it. The Gonks is the future, ladies and gentlemen. The Gonks is the future.
Well, Phil has a good connection with the BBC because he's worked there for so long. He
Yeah, he
can,
has. Man and boy,
he can probably make that happen because he knows everyone. You
he
can
knows people.
knows people, and he's also going places because he travels home and to work every day, so he is. Um,
Yeah.
so, with the array of bands you've done, what makes a good band? What elements would make a good band to make it be able to have longevity?
I don't know. My instinct is that you've got to get along and you've got to have a similar worldview. But many bands hate each other and have great success over the years. So I don't really know. It's like that magic ingredient, isn't it? It's like a magic X factor, for want of a better phrase. Um, like yeah, a similar goals in life, similar life views, similar inspirations. Maybe I don't know. It's an interesting point. That who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? And do you think that you'll ever, if Shops at Pops is on at Christmas, do you reckon you'll ever try and get Christmas number one to get back on Top of the Pops?
Oh yeah, that's the only. It's the only chart that counts these days. The Christmas chart. I'm helping out with a band called Crack Pops this year, who have done a song called Proper Christmas, and it's a real barnstorming Christmas anthem. And Spray have submitted a big. Well, it sounds a bit like the Pound Shop Boys, to be honest. All the explosions and the choirs and the whoomp noises. So we're helping out with that. So hopefully, um, the Christmas number one campaign starts here.
And I think Phil's involved, but I don't know if he is with the Sooty Christmas song, if I'm not mistaken.
He's certainly, yeah, he went down and filmed a load of stuff in his role as the current sweep. Uh, have I heard that yet? I don't think I've heard that yet.
It's very
But hmm?
it's very good. It's Sue sings. No one else sings. It's just Sue. It's not Sooty's song. It's Sue's song.
That's the problem with sweep, in that the only one with a voice is the worst one. So I had this idea um, that you could sample Sweep's Squeak and make a techno record out of it. A real hardcore hands on the egg glow stick dance record. So I did a quick one that I did a minute of sampling Sweep and doing techno around it as a proof of concept, which Phil then sent to Richard Cadell, and we got this voicemail back of Richard going, oh, "You've got too much time on your hands, haven't you?" So I don't know whether that was an endorsement or not. I think a sweet techno record would be a massive success, more so than Sue singing a Christmas record, because
And so, coming towards the end of this amazing, glorious, and out of this world interview,
it was,
I haven't left to go to Mars yet because who knows who's on Mars? Might be the Martians or it might be the Gunks. Who knows?
There's no origin story for the comics. They could well be on Mars. That's a nice. I'll make a note of that. That's quite a good idea, actually.
And so, this is your opportunity in your part of the interview to say where can people find you? Do not give away your home address, but online find you.
I'll give away Phil's home address so everybody can go around and visit the puppet workshop. Ricardo Autobahn on all social platforms. But spray.bandcamp.com is a very good jumping off point. Also, poundshopboys.bandcamp.com. There's two. Spray and Pound Shop Boys bandcamps are very good jumping off points. And if you type Pound Shop Boys to any search engine, you'll come across us before long.
And do you have any albums or singles that are out available on digital or CD?
You know what? I have a couple. The Cuban Boys. The Cuban Boys did some Radio 1 BBC sessions in the 90s, and they have just come out on vinyl record. So, follow my general social medias and you'll find that. And there's a Spray album of synth pop cover versions, which is out on digital and has been for the year, but it's about to come out on a lovely double CD in time for Christmas. So that's well worth checking out on spray.bandcamp.com.
And can anyone see you performing live anywhere in either this year or in the next year?
Cuban Boys are performing in Halifax on the 15th of December, which is quite soon. I should prepare something. Spray have a couple of things booked for next year. I'm not entirely sure of the dates, but that'll come round. Yeah, Spray will be on tour in April or May. And as I said, the Pound Shop Boys are gradually building up the momentum to do a few more gigs. That was another thing the Pound Shop Boys were supposed to do. We were supposed to do a big thing it was going to be at Media City. What was that one day event called? There was a big one day event at Media City, and it got cancelled. When it came back, it was all sort of stripped down because they didn't have the budget to cover it, and they didn't have the budget to pay for the Pound Shop Boys when it was back on again. That would have been our glorious comeback gig.
Yeah. And so there we have it. Another wonderful interview.
I'm
Now,
sorry, I rambled a bit at the end there. Sorry, you were trying to finish the interview, and I was rambling a bit, and now I'm doing exactly the same thing again, just trying to extend my appearance on screen by rambling away. I'll shut up now. I'm sorry.
so if you want to see more interviews by me, well, I have 20 YouTube channels, so I'll be on there. And in December, we have some interesting surprises. It might be can I use this isn't a good analogy. It might be amazing. No, okay, that joke will make sense to no one ever, but who knows? Who knows? That's why my comedy career's not going anywhere. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and remember, no, I've forgotten.